Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host, Tom Sire from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content I will be delivering for you guys today will be pertaining in the sport of college football. If you guys haven't checked out our latest episode, it is now available on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So go ahead and check out the latest episode if you guys haven't watched or listened to it already. By the look of it, looking into the camera, I forgot to address that I do have some play tattoos on me. I was playing with my baby cousin. I have yet to take that off yet, but they're not real tattoos. Just play tattoos. But in this bonus segment, I will be sharing my college football championship game prediction, where tomorrow night in tomorrow's championship game, we'll be seeing number 1 ranked Georgia taking on number 3 ranked TCU. I will be sharing my game prediction for how I believe tomorrow's game will go. So 2 weeks ago, when I sat on the nearly 2 weeks ago when I sat on the podcast covering the college football playoffs for the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl, I said that both games would be two competitive games when we saw Ohio State versus Georgia and we saw Michigan versus TCU. I believe that both games would be very, very competitive from start to finish. And this was the first, I would say, the Fiesta Bowl was one of the best games that I've seen in college football playoffs history since the tournament started, I believe 2014, 2015. This was the best that I saw. This game was hot from start to finish. TCU narrowed it out, beating Michigan 51-45. Both teams nearly putting up 100 points combined in this game. When you do the math on it, there was a total of 96 points scored in that game. TCU was successful. And then in the Peach Bowl, you had Georgia narrowly beating Ohio State 42-41 in a nail-biter game. That was a tremendous game as well. So both games very competitive from start to finish. Now I'll be sharing my storylines for both teams heading into this game. So let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, the Georgia Bulldogs are the reigning, defending champions of college football. Kirby Smart has a chance to guide this program into a program's dream, a dynasty dream. If the Georgia Bulldogs knock off TCU tomorrow night, you might as well say this is the start of a dynasty in college football. Yes, we've seen something similar with Nick Saban in Alabama, but I believe if Kirby Smart can help Georgia Bulldogs win the championship tomorrow night, back-to-back years, I believe we are going to be looking at the next big dogs in college football and a dynasty being born before our very eyes in college football. And then let's talk about TCU. Sonny Dykes, new head coach for TCU. This is actually his first year coaching in this program. Believe it or not, he has done one heck of a job. He can help TCU seal and deliver their Cinderella season. Nobody, not even myself, thought that TCU would be in this position to win a national championship, let alone be in the college football playoffs this year. Sonny Dykes has guided this TCU team into a great place, and the program is going to be very special to watch over the next few years. TCU is actually looking to win their first national championship since 1938, so we're closing in on nearly 100 years since TCU has won a national championship in college football. Sonny Dykes has a chance to help his program win a national championship, first time since 1938. So these are these are going to be my keys for TCU if they plan on beating Georgia tomorrow night in the national championship to win a college football championship. These are the keys I believe that TCU needs to win this game. They need to play great defense. Defense did a great job stepping up and against Michigan's run game. When I predicted the Fiesta Bowl, I said that would be their downfall. I said that game would be won in the trenches. I've said that I didn't believe in TCU's defensive front battling against Michigan's offensive line. But they won that battle, and they did a pretty good job of shutting down Michigan's run game in that game. So they'll have to do the same thing against Georgia, a team that likes to run the ball. They like to use several running backs, 2 to 3 running backs in their offense. So if they want to have a chance to win the national championship, they got to do the same thing defensively to Georgia's run game that they did to Michigan's run game. Secondly, TCU must play nearly flawless defense in the red zone. During the red zone, they were picked on a lot, despite the fact being the third best team in the country. They were picked on a lot in the red zone. Allowing touchdowns in the red zone, they were currently ranked 44th in the country in defending in the red zone. That cannot happen. You got to play nearly flawless football, especially in the red zone. You cannot sacrifice 6 points. You're better off giving up threes than 6 points. So definitely something to look out for. And then thirdly, if TCU wants a chance in this game, they're gonna have to rely heavily on Max Duggan, their quarterback. I believe Max Duggan. I've gave him his flowers and my opinion how I feel about him. I believe he's a good dual threat quarterback. I actually believe his draft stock actually rose watching that Fiesta Bowl, helping TCU dethrone Michigan. And Max Duggan played pretty good football. I think he has to do the same thing in this national championship game. Something that I saw, a weakness that I have saw in this game, mainly for the last 2 games that I've seen the Georgia Bulldogs, is their secondary. I think Max Duggan has to pick apart and pick on their secondary if they want a chance to win this game. When Georgia played Ohio State in their last outing, C.J. Stroud went 23 for 34 passing, had 348 passing yards with 4 passing touchdowns thrown. I think this is a great opportunity for TCU to pick up and capitalize on the same thing. C.J. Stroud found success against their secondary. Max Duggan can do the same thing. I think Quentin Johnson, wide receiver for TCU, their number 1 option, who right now is projected to be a top 10 receiver in this NFL draft. He has to step up and have a big game against Georgia's secondary if TCU wants to have a chance of winning a national championship game. And then these are my keys for the Georgia Bulldogs to win this game against TCU. They have to play good in the secondary. Like I just said, the last 2 outings that I have saw, Georgia's defense, the secondary has not looked as impressive as it did during the regular season. And they've been picked apart. In their last 2 outings, they have allowed over 500 passing yards. When you talk about in the SEC championship when they played against LSU. And then the last time that we saw them on New Year's Eve when they played against Ohio State in the Peach Bowl. Allowing over 500 passing yards in the secondary is not good, especially when you have a dual threat quarterback coming to play you tomorrow night. They definitely got to work on their secondary, and their secondary is going to have to keep them alive in this ball game. Like I just said, offensively, they got to cash in on every opportunity they get in the red zone. I just said that TCU was currently ranked 44th in the country at stopping teams from scoring in the red zone. Georgia is the number 1 team that capitalizes points in the red zone. They're first in the red zone when they have the opportunity to score the ball in the red zone. They capitalize and score points. They're ranked first in the country. And then third but not least, Stetson Bennett needs to continue to show up. I have said it on the podcast. I said he is the Jimmy Garoppolo of college football. Well, last week he had the performance of his life when he helped Georgia back into that ball game when they trailed in the 4th quarter. Heading into that 4th quarter, they were down 38-24. And when I saw that score, I was definitely thinking that we're going to get Ohio State versus TCU in the national championship game. Stetson Bennett isn't built and operated to help a comeback like that, to have a comeback like that. Well, he proved me wrong, and he had the game of his life. He threw for 398 passing yards, had 3 touchdowns, just had 1 interception thrown. But Stetson Bennett proved to me that he could be clutch when needed. We haven't really seen that in his time with the Georgia Bulldogs because majority of the time they're up on the scoreboard, or they're in a 3-possession ball game. We've seen he was down by 9 points. I've never seen that since he's been the starting quarterback, and he helped this team win in a big-time situation. So he's definitely going to have to bring his big-time game, his big-time playability to this game tomorrow night. With that being said, my pick to win this game is the Georgia Bulldogs. I have the Georgia Bulldogs knocking off TCU in a close game to put the exclamation point on another incredible season. And I have them winning back-to-back national championships. I think Georgia, this is going to be a very competitive game from start to finish. I think the game is won in the trenches on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line of Georgia's competing against TCU's offensive line and defensive line. I think I trust Georgia's defense to win the war in this game, in the battle of the trenches against TCU's offensive and defensive lines. Georgia's offense will cash in on any opportunity that TCU allows, that the defense helps them in order to win this game. I think if Max Duggan throws a couple interceptions, they fumble the ball, special teams has mistakes, Georgia's offense is going to come in on the field and capitalize, whether that's putting 3 points on the board or 6 or 7 points on the board. They will capitalize in a way that we have seen them all year long. When opportunities present themselves, I believe Georgia's offense is going to do the same exact thing. And last but not least, the reason why they're going to win this game is because of Stetson Bennett. He's at the helm at the quarterback position. He knows what it takes to win a national championship game. You look back last year when they played Alabama in the national championship game. It was a close game all the way up into the end where Georgia started pulling away. They got a lot of takeaways, and they started pulling away from that ball game. But Stetson Bennett was was picture perfect in that national championship game. Didn't turn the ball over. If I can remember, I believe he had 2 to 3 passing touchdowns in that game. So Stetson Bennett knows when the lights are on bright, when the championship's on the line, national championship at that, he knows to play clean football, not turn the ball over, and help his team execute on offense. I believe he's going to do the same thing against TCU tomorrow night. So I'm banking on Georgia to win the national championship game. I'm banking on them to win it back-to-back years, and we're going to see the beginning of a new dynasty in college football with the Georgia Bulldogs, led by Kirby Smart and company. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Tom Styree, signing off, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.